give amnesty to those who did return. We hear that a number of them are back, but I want you to take a listen to what Aregbesola had to say just hours after the
unprovoked attacks on the institutions of state, especially the law enforcement institution, is nothing short of a declaration of war on the Nigerian state and our people. These acts, therefore, are capable of unleashing anarchy and gravely imperil the lives and property of the Nigerian people. The perpetrators are without doubt the enemies of the people and should be treated as such. The federal government will react appropriately by going after these criminals and make them to face the full wrath of the law. We will leave no stone unturned.
All right, so that's part of what Aregbesola had to say. Very strong words, an attack on the government, an attack on the people. They will leave no stone unturned in getting to the bottom of this. Part of that speech, he also mentioned that there was going to be amnesty for those who voluntarily returned. And the amnesty he was talking about was not for their initial crimes, but for the crime of escaping a correctional facility, which he said is a crime in Nigerian law. 85 were being told. Some other newspapers are reporting 48, 54, depending on which, but a lot of them are still missing. Up to 1,000 more are still missing. But that is not even the issue. The issue, it would seem, is the change in rhetoric. Because the governor of Imo State recently spoke up about this. And he says that it is people who are aggrieved, politicians to be precise, who are aggrieved, are the ones who are sponsoring the national crisis in states controlled by the All Progressives Congress in the Southeast geopolitical zone. Specifically, the governor said APC detractors were determined to bring down the regime of President Muhammadu Buhari by sponsoring attacks in Imo and Owerri. In Imo State and Ebonyi State, the two APC-controlled states in the southeast. The governor of Imo State, Hope Uzodinma, spoke on Wednesday while he was featuring on a television interview. Of course, on Monday, as is still fresh in our minds, gunmen attacked the Owerri Correctional Center, freed over 1,800 inmates. The attackers also razed the Imo State Police Command headquarters, which was situated in Owerri, and burned all the vehicles parked at the command headquarters. The hoodlums further freed the suspects in cells at the State Criminal Investigation Department of the command and made an attempt to loot the police armory in the state. Now, it was gathered that the government operated from around 1 a.m. till 3 a.m. on Monday and sang solidarity songs at the government house roundabout for about 30 minutes before they attacked the police facilities. The police accused members of the Eastern Security Network, the security arm of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, of being the masterminds of the attack, even though IPOB, led by Nnamdi Kanu, have denied that allegation. So this paints a picture of chaos, of fear and uncertainty. Imagine what life is like for people in these areas who do not know what the repercussions for such attacks will be, who do not know when the next attack would be carried out. And there have also been cases of northerners targeted in some parts of the south, in the southeast to be precise. There have been reports of summary killings, and several other types of attacks on people of northern extraction. Nobody seems to know why that is happening or who is behind it, but certainly it aggravates the security tension and level of insecurity in the state. So what I'm trying to find out in my conversation with Chinedu this morning is why this is happening and why now. And apart from IPOB denying its involvement in this, are there signs that actually show that it may be behind the heightened level of insecurity that we've seen in recent weeks in the Southeast? And if they are, what could they possibly want? Attention? And if that is what they want, is that a valid situation? I mean, the answer to that almost comes easily because the president says it's an act of terrorism, and you can't imagine the new police boss added secessionism to one of the things he's going to battle hard as he takes over from Mohammed Adamu. So these are the areas that our conversation for this morning will cover. I'm hoping to have Chinedu on the line in just a moment. We have to take a commercial break at this point, though. When we come back, we'll be in full swing with our conversation, so don't go away.
So, hello?
Now you be the lucky customer where we want dash our Adam's apple olive cream. We go help reduce the size of your Adam's apple. You go flat and saute.
What's the ear no go here? Ha! If to see I don't get data now, I don't know who they call, no pick 'em.
No matter your phone, whether you get data or not, you sabi who they call. Turn up Kulele Mind with MTN who they call. Now 5 naira per day and 15 naira per month. Dial star 5058 ash. Make you enjoy.
Everywhere you go, MTN.
As the best man, I'd like to give a toast. But first, I have a few things to say. The money they are spraying the couple is reducing. It seems some people have rubbed glue under their shoes to pack it.
Clearly, he's been watching comedy nights or maybe My Siblings and I on Africa Magic Urban, DSTV channel 153. Now, you too can get inspired by our local entertainment. Get a HD decoder, dish, plus 1 month DSTV compact subscription for only 18,600 naira. Because great stories start on DSTV.
You don't wait for life. You go to meet life. It's not about how many chances you get. It's what you do with what you've got. Morning after morning, cup after cup. Start strong, finish strong. With the stimulating aroma and rich, creamy taste of Nescafe 3-in-1. It all starts with a Nescafe.
Oṣù àpẹẹlẹ oṣù ẹ̀yọ́nú tún ti dé o. Oṣù Ramadan tí gbogbo èèyàn máa ń jí fàfàmìàfàmìà lọ́dọ̀ Ọlọ́run ọba Allah pẹ̀lú ṣíṣe àwọn onígbọ̀wọ́ ètò lọ́lọ́kọ̀ òjọ̀kan yálà lóru àti lọ́sàn-án àwẹ̀ Ramadan. Ìyẹn lórí ìkànnì ọmọlúwàbí Splash FM 105.5 àti Lágẹ̀lú FM 96.7. Àsìkò rẹ̀ ó látún ti wá fagbọ̀n kọ́rẹ́ lọ́dọ̀ Ọlọ́run ọba lékè ọlá pẹ̀lú ṣíṣe àwọn onígbọ̀wọ́ ètò bí oníṣẹ́jú 5, 10 àti 15. Bákan náà làǹfààní tún ṣí sílẹ̀ fún yín o láti kẹ́bùn wá fàmìàfàmìà fáwọn èèyàn láti máa fi ṣèfàjẹ́ lóru àwẹ̀. Ẹ tètè máa bọ̀ wá o sí ìkànnì ọmọlúwàbí Splash FM àti Lágẹ̀lú FM òkè gájòkè láti wá ṣòǹgbọ̀wọ́ àwọn ètò nínú lámàlánà yìí. Fún ẹ̀kúnrẹ́rẹ́ àlàyé ẹ pè Amir Lukman Tijani sórí nọ́mbà yìí 080-733-21933. Oṣù àwẹ̀ Ramadan tó wọlé dé yìí Ọlọ́run ọba ò ní dùn wá ládàá Allahumma àmín.
Òru la máa ń sun àsùnfọ́nfọ́n. Òun làkókò táwọn ọmọ ọwọ́ máa ń sùn lálàá. Wọ́n á máa tọ̀ láì bìkítà. Ìdí wọn á sì gbẹ fúrú tílẹ̀ ó fi mọ́. Òru lọmọ ọwọ́ máa ń sun àlàáfíà. Tí ìyá bá yan ìlédìí Huggies Dry Comfort láàyò. Apilẹ̀ Huggies pẹ̀lú ọ̀já múlọ́múlọ́ ti mú òdúró rẹ́gí lára. Huggies ń fanimú wẹ́rẹ́ láti mú ìdí àwọn ọmọ ọwọ́ gbẹ fúrú lóru kí wọ́n àtọmọ rẹ lè sun oorun ìtura. Huggies á mú dìgbẹ́ fúrú á sì múnú sun oorun ìtura lóru.
Neighbor, this your phone I don't dey eye am since so.
Hey, na itel A37 o. Even my daughter dey follow me drag am and the camera clear.
How much you buy am?
Shikini money, and if you buy am now, itel fit sama you with 37 seconds of shopping spree for Easter.
True.
Oh yes, win 37 seconds shopping spree this Easter when you buy the new itel A37 smartphone with water drop display. Promo runs from March 20th till April 30th. Terms and conditions apply. itel A37. Your best choice.
Thank you so much for staying with us. You're listening to Beyond the Surface on Splash 105.5 FM. It's 24 minutes past 8 a.m. And I did say that I will be speaking to Chinedu Ekeja, who I'm trying to get on the line right now. We're focusing on the security situation in the southeast and what seems to be like a heightened level of insecurity that we've seen with the killing of police officers and the raising of police stations across different states in the southeast. What the reason could be and who can be fingered as being responsible for all of that. Good morning, Chinedu Ekeja. Thanks for joining us again this morning. Hello, Chinedu. Okay. Can you hear me? Okay. So seems like we're having a connection problem. Let's try and figure that out in just a moment. Don't go away. We're back, and I think it's going to work this time. Good morning, Chinedu. Can you hear me?
Good morning.
Yay. I can hear you. Good morning. I'm doing my celebratory dance. Great. I was almost scared for a moment. I thought we were going to have some connection issues. But it's nice to have you on the line. It's been a while. I think it's it's even appropriate to say Happy New Year. Have we spoken this year? You and I?
Yeah, of course we have. I think it was once before the beginning of the year, I guess.
Oh, yes, actually. But it seems like such a long time. It's good to have you back. Hope you've been doing good, though.
I'm doing well. How about you?
We're fine. We're fine here. I mean, we're looking with amazement at what is happening in some states in the southeast, which of course is the reason why we're having this conversation. But before we get into the real conversation, can you tell us what the general atmosphere is in the southeast, particularly in Enugu where you are? Are people going about afraid that there might be an imminent attack at any moment, or is it just us here that are, having that notion of how bad things are security-wise in the southeast?
Certainly. In the general public, the perception is not that people are going to be attacked. But in major government facilities like security facilities, yes, the state command, divisional police headquarters, and other, particularly federal government-owned security apparatus.
Yes.
Security has been beefed up around the area, because no one knows, where is going to be the next, spot of attack for these marauding attackers. Nobody knows who they are yet. Fingers are just merely pointing at some elements, but nobody is very certain about who are behind these attacks.
But as a media person who usually has his ears to the ground and, is always looking for accurate information, what would you ascribe this heightened level of insecurity to? Why do you think these things are happening, and why now?
It's quite big, my imagination, because Southeast, apart from the activities of IPOB, there has not been any call for concern. Maybe a few incidents of farmer headers clashes in some communities in the southeast, like Anambra, a part of Enugu, Ebonyi.
Yes.
You rarely hear about that in Abia and that of Imo. It's just maybe few places where you have reprisal attack as a result of maybe what's happened down there in the north or what's happening in another part of the southeast. But usually, these sort of attacks are very rare to come by in the southeast. But it's also very unfortunate and confusing that it's happening, repeatedly, just one after another, and at such magnitude. The prison facility affected in Imo State, the state capital, is very close to the government house. And government houses are usually have brigade command, very close by in most cases.
Yes.
Now, and then with the presence of the government facilities and offices, including the office of the governor, one would expect that the level of security around the area will be very, very tough for anyone to come out and carry out such attacks, because it lasted for a lengthy period of time, for over 2 hours. So if such attack will go on, then it points that to the fact that there are more than meets the eye in this sort of insecurity in the southeast.
Yes, I mean, you said earlier that nobody knows who's behind these attacks, particularly in the Owerri attack. The police says that it believes IPOB is responsible, even though, yes, IPOB has said that they're not, However, I know I've spoken to a few of my associates who live in Imo and in some parts of the East, and they always bring it back to the fight or agitation or the whole Biafra issue. Would you say that there is a connection, whether we want to accept it or not, whether Biafra denies or IPOB denies it or not? Would you say that it is clear that their hands are in this, would you say that it is almost very too obvious that they are involved in one way or the other in these attacks?
Now, it will be quite difficult to put the blames entirely on them. But looking at what has been happening, looking from the antecedents, in the last couple of years, there is this unpronounced protest from the southeast region of the country about, the level of lack of inclusiveness in this Nigerian project. In terms of appointments, in terms of revenue distribution, in terms of resource allocation, and so many other reasons. And then you coming out to see similar incidents happening in other parts of the country, particularly the north, where you have high level of insecurity, arising from people claiming to have been marginalized. Like we've heard cases of bandits saying they turn into banditry because their cattle have been rusted, or people claiming they turn into banditry because they chased out of the mining sites where places that used to be their sources of livelihood. The cases of Boko Haram, you hear people saying that they were really peaceful people protesting or going about their normal religious activities until their leader was killed and they had to take up arms and continue for over 5 to 6 years, destroying the economy of an entire region. And then the federal government having to mobilize resources to the point that you even have a Northeast Development Commission that has a budget for it annually just to rehabilitate a region that was destroyed by people who are not just fighting for a cause, people who are fighting for a cause that no one can lay their hands exactly on. So when you find issues like this, so I tend to believe that people also would want to nurture some element of grievances within them, and they want to take a new form of protest, which is what I've been noticing in the Southeast, beginning from the emergence of the Southeast Security Network. Even though the leaders in the Southeast have not come out clearly to say, okay, they are strongly behind or they have endorsed the Southeast Security Network, but the IPOB members and the leaders, they've all come out and said this is their own security apparatus, like what we have in the Southwest, as a way of dealing with prospective internal emerging security challenges.
Yes. So
these things are not clear. But when you have issues like this, and when you have people knocking or nurturing or having unexpressed grievances, chances are that they could take up any form of protest to express their anger. What you saw in a way, we've seen a few lines, people saying that the attackers asked the prisoners to go, that Jesus Christ has resurrected, they are free, and all sort of things. So you don't know if it could be IPOB which is another way I'm trying to look at it, it's possible that some of their members who may have been arrested in the past, for being involved in one form of, illegitimate movements or cause or the other, that could have been an opportunity to set them free. We saw what happened in Edo State in the course of NSAS protest, where some aggrieved fellows who claim to be members of the NSAS protest, broke into the prison facilities and let go of many inmates, including some of their members, who had been detained over a long period of time. So if it happens like that, if it could be a reason, it will not be difficult to say that the IPOP could be behind,
involved.
Just like the police, are rightly alleged.
So you seem to be saying that regardless of who is behind this, the whole idea is to get government's attention to what seems like the ills or the marginalization of the people of this region. Is that it? Do you think that that's it? They're trying to call attention to government, but if that is, I don't know whether you say yes or no. But assuming you say, okay, so you think it is it? They're trying to get attention to the marginalization. But can turning to violence be the solution? The answer is easy, considering what is happening in the Northwest and how we're seeing negotiations with bandits and all. But do you think that can work in the Southeast?
We obviously cannot work. You obviously can work. But when you have a situation whereby a system is trying to encourage illegitimacy or give face to an illegitimate movement as a way of dealing with something that could be addressed through a constitutional channel, you won't bet an eyelid when you see another group trying to spring up and adopt the same strategy to get your attention or to address their own needs. I've never been a fan of, sorry to put it this way, but I've never been a fan of this modern day movement or agitation of Biafra. I have my reasons, and time may not permit us for me to give them out here.
Yeah.
And I don't think anyone is more able than myself, even though I'm a journalist. But the reasons, I have a lot of reservations, which when tabled to many people, it's quite not okay to continue. But what is even more saddening is the approach to the fight for that liberation. Now, this is a modern society. We no more live in Stone Age. Even when we fought civil war in the 1967 to 1970, the casualty was high, not even minding that sophistication in the society in terms of arms and ammunition weren't as what we have today.
Yes.
So no one wants to go into that kind of arrangement anymore, into that kind of situation. But it's unfortunate that, we keep having this conversation whether or not to go or to stay, but nobody is saying, okay, let us have a formal conversation this way, through a referendum or through this. Because people who are fighting, who are taking up arms, who are making these calls for liberation of the Southeasterners, they do not seem to have the endorsement of the entire Igbo nation. You just have a fraction of people who tend to, maybe today they want to associate with them, tomorrow they want to disassociate with them. And then you have the larger political circle who, because of their political interest, will always want to align with the existing government.
Yes.
So when you have these divisions and parallel interests within the same people who seem to be fighting the same cause, it looks quite impossible to achieve. So this approach is very, very difficult. And I don't think what they are doing is the right way, because we have more Southeasterners in other parts of the country than we have other people in the Southeast. And these people, they do not just live there, they live there with huge amount of investment. And when you're talking about attacks on individuals, probably because they are from a certain part of the region, as a way of reprising, as a way of revenge, to a similar attacks on someone in another part of the country, I always do not buy that idea. And the approach they are adopting, if after all they are calling on the federal government to respond to the call for the liberation of Biafra, the approach is quite weak and is not going to yield any results.
Yeah. Interesting.
Exactly.
While you and I are trying to figure out if IPOB is behind it or not, the governor of Imo State, who has been in the eye of this whole storm recently, has a different rhetoric. He says hoodlums sponsored by aggrieved politicians might be the ones, I don't think it was might. He said actually they are the ones who are sponsoring these attacks, and that specifically these attacks are in southeastern states controlled by the APC. Is that just political rhetoric, or is there? Would you agree with that?
I totally consider that political rhetoric. Why? Immediately the attack happened, the former Inspector General of the police, the immediate past, Adamu, was in Imo State the next day, and he dropped a couple of statements that tend to suggest that after the first part of their investigation, they had a reason to suspect that the attack was carried out by people sponsored by the IPOB or the IPOB members themselves. Even though they came out openly to deny immediately. Now, one would wonder why a political opponent within the same state would want to attack a federal government facility, housing criminals, as a way of trying to destroy a government and a sitting government, or destabilize a sitting government. Yes, I know politicians in Nigeria can go to any length, but I strongly doubt if they would want to use this approach as a way of, because they live in the same society, and those in prison are criminals.
Okay.
And the prison facilities belong to the federal government and not
the state government. Yeah.
So I'm still wondering why he's trying to, think there's a link between the attack and some of his political opponents in the state.
Now let's take a look at the new acting Inspector General of Police and what impact he might make on this situation. Do you think things are likely to change with this change in the helms of affairs of the police, as we're seeing? Is that a huge enough change to get things to calm down, especially in the southeast?
At the risk of sounding pessimistic.
Yes.
See, I have a problem with when people make calls for change of, heads of security agencies as an immediate solution to a long-running problem.
Okay.
See, you have an Inspector General of Police that has an office in Abuja. Certainly, it's just one person. Probably many aides operates in Abuja and has other 36 states to attend to. And he's going to work with commissioners of states, probably from these regions, that this insecurity has been very high. Now, you also want to believe that this person is not a magician and is not a spirit. He's just human, like every other official that have worked in this position. It will take him quite a longer period of time to, first of all, adjust within the system and know who he's going to be working with. So we can't go out of the formal procedure of doing investigation just because he's a new Inspector General of Police. So I'm not going to expect a sudden turnaround in security situation in all parts of the country, particularly in the south, is just because there's a new Inspector General of Police. Of course, if he wants to go to Umo to do anything, he will first of all either send investigative officials from Abuja, maybe from the police criminal investigation department, and when they go to Imo, they will certainly work with the police officers on ground. But have they dealt with the inefficiencies? Have they dealt with the issue of budgetary allocation, mismanagement of resources, meant for the security or security officials? Have they dealt with the corruption within the system? Have they dealt with and so many inadequacies within the system? So when they have a new appointment of Chief of Army Staff, new Inspector General of Police, who only live in Abuja, and people want to celebrate and expect his results in probably a local government in Imo State that do not have operational vehicle, that will charge a complainant 200 naira to book a case, or they will request for 500 naira to buy fuel in the vehicle before they will go for how is that? What's the correlation? So I certainly do not buy into that idea. A new Inspector General of Police, perfect, okay. How long is he going to stay in the office to be able to reshuffle the system and make it work in an ideal pattern? And as we see in other society.
I mean,
it's very short. It's such a short period of time to achieve that. And the people are not talking about, the conversation is not going that way from all the stakeholders. People are just concerned about a new Inspector General of Police and the fact that they want to turn the country to a crime-free state in 6 months.
Immediately. That's not. I mean, I see the point in that totally. There are existing problems that have to be addressed before any real gains can be achieved in tackling the issues of insecurity, whether in the southeast or in any other part of Nigeria. But as we wrap up now, briefly, Chinedu, tell me, what options do you think are available to the federal government in quelling this problem? Because now is not a time to have new insecurity problems cropping up. Like, the government already has a full plate on its hands. You know, there's so much it has to deal with already, and this is not a good time to have any type of surge in insecurity. What are the options available to the federal government, in your opinion?
You see, I still believe that our intelligence policing approach is still very poor. It's still not. There's no a lot of investment into boosting our intelligence policing approach. That if you have that, if you see what the bandit trade has been going on in the northwest, the Boko Haram, that's taken for quite almost a decade for Boko Haram, and then the banditry is getting to 3-4 years now. Nobody seems to know where these guys operate. Where are they from? How did these arms get into their hands? Where is their basis? Where do they hide these arms? This is something you can only tackle with intelligence policing and not gra-gra approach like Nigerians will put it. Now, if you have this information, for instance, the attack in Imo State, another one happening the next day, shows that no one is dealing with intelligence, or no one is working with intelligence rather. Because if one is working with, there's no way you have a similar attack the next day and nobody seems to have a clue. So when they talk about community policing approach or system, it's not necessarily having police officers recruited from and giving guns and arms in the communities of the operations and asked to chase or run after criminals in their community. No, not necessarily. Then you could have even plain dressed police officers that just reside within the community as part of the community, but they are doing intelligence work and giving a feedback to the central police network from where arrest, prosecution, investigation could be carried out. But if we just continue to operate on the basis of, okay, there's an attack, okay, mobilize 300 police officers and cordon the area, then the next day there's another one somewhere, then you mobilize 500 police officers, it's just going to be an endless cycle for me. That's what I think.
Chinedu, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure hearing you speak on these issues. You bring a lot of insight, and I appreciate it. Thank you again for taking the time.
Thank you for having me, Charity.
Yeah, enjoy the rest of your day.
to your phone about. Thank you.
Thank you. Of course, I'm sure they're happy for you to be giving your regards to them, and they would happily accept it. Well, we have 3 minutes. Chinedu has said a lot. Chidra said a lot, and unfortunately I just have 3 minutes left to wrap up. I want to take a few calls on this, if you have any comments concerning this before we wrap up the show, and I'll just do that quickly. Hello, good morning.
Hello, Jerome.
Hi, Charles, good morning. Welcome.
How are you this morning?
I am fine, thank you. Please go ahead, we have very limited time.
Yes, you see, the way I see it, people are using ethnic cards to cause problems in the country. It's not only people in government circles, they are using ethnicity to cause problems in the country. You bring me to the issue of all these groups, Afenifere, or Amezi, and Arewa, who gave them the authority to represent the people? I've been asking this question several times. Because most of them make inflammatory comments that are capable of causing problems in the country.
Yes.
The government needs to be proactive on these people that are making statement capable of causing disunity in the country, both in individuals and groups. Okay. And secondly, on security, the security agency have to be proactive. There are people are taking opportunity of the laxity in security to cause problems in the country. Whether through corruption, they should correct it if it's corruption or any other thing, and make sure the country is secure for us to live.
All right, Charles, thank you very much. My producer just told me that I cannot take any more calls, so I'll just have to leave it at this for this morning. Thank you very much. Apologies for the shortness of the time that we have, but we have to just leave it the way it is. Security is a very important part of any nation, and we hope that our government will get it together. Chinedu mentioned something as this agitations being a way of getting the government attention to marginalization. If that is the situation, then government already has its work cut out for it. My name is Charity Jerome. I hope that you enjoy your Thursday, and keep it locked on Splash 105.5 FM. Tufun Tedo comes up at 9.
Splash FM 105.5.
Mama Betty tuti barada, ó ti gbé ti túndé. Mama Betty tuti barada, ó ti gbé ti túndé. Àwa ní báàgì nílùú Ìbàdàn.